tell them about the little guy who comes and visits the house all the time.
Oh, no, I told about the other lady.
Liz, reptilian. Just sits here and likes to listen to them.
Yeah. Well, that one time she did come. I had a reptilian come. I've told it before, and she wears the New Orleans beads, and she likes lipstick real well because she's always got it on. And that the 2 times before, she actually sat down and in my living room and listened to everything. I see her every now and then, so she's around, but she seems halfway interested, so it's kind of interesting. Okay, Bob.
Well, anyway, Dwayne, last Monday, I had a dream where I was a new recruit on a military base, and it was my job to launch they had these 50-gallon barrels. That's about the size of it, and they had a rounded top on it. And my job was to launch these things. Well, it was a huge explosion, and these things would shoot up in the air and maybe go 200 or 300 feet before they landed, and a loud bang. And it was my job to launch these things right about the time of Reveille, when the military people start waking up. It was my job to launch these things, a huge loud bang and explosion, and then I was supposed to shout the words at the top of my lungs, "Good morning, Sherman," or something like that. And then I woke up from that dream. But it was kind of interesting. When I had that dream, I felt my feeling about being a new recruit in the military was, I felt as though for the first time the real guys have accepted me as a new student that they're going to start working with. So my new recruit in the military was the equivalent of being a new student with a new presentation, and that's how I felt about it. So I'd like your comment on it.
Okay, so you kids are stepping forward as an example is when you're going to go to the seminar and you're seeing what you're going to be doing. You're going to, just like that, what I'm seeing with what you're doing, it's kind of like, what do they call those things? Those they catapult them off of boats to try and hit the submarines below. What do they call those barrels? Yeah. I know what they are. What do they call the barrels? They detonators or whatever.
Torpedoes.
The what?
Torpedoes.
No.
Depth charges.
Depth charge. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay. So you're on the surface, and they're below. So it's a depth charge. Okay. So that's part of the wake up. Okay. So again, the experience exaggerates itself. Of course, no, you're not blowing up anybody. What you're doing is you're just doing something. They're sending you out. Okay. And to get the attention of others. That's the idea. Seeing if you will do it. You're the new recruit, and this is your mission because you've stepped up. And you see this many times. This is kind of like the military. In other words, the idea is that okay, we've got a life is what life is. So you've stepped up, and so it reflects in the military that you know. It's not that you're going to obey orders, but you're willing to, you might obey, we just call it the natural environment. You're willing to obey the natural process of things, and that is that we all wake each other up. And so this is just an exaggeration is what it is, and that's what you're doing. And just like, again, just like the seminar you're going to, you decided to step up, you see? So the experience is a reflection of that, and it's going to be a bang. Yeah. So again, it's a wake up. So this is what we do. Otherwise, what do? We do nothing. We just cruise around the surface, and all the submarines are down there. Everybody's. You see, it's interesting too. When you're above the water, it's like you're in the real universes. When you're below the water, you're in the psychic realms, and there are these people in their submarines. okay, and they're trapped in these little compartments. They're going around in their submarines, etc. And it's like that. So what you're doing is you're putting depth charges out to see who will come up. That's the idea, isn't it? So when when you make a break in the sub, what does it do? Usually comes to the surface, doesn't it? And so because you've made an impression, you see. And so the Sherman thing, well, a lot of things, when you hear certain things or ideas, they go upon old sayings. So I would, whatever kind of intuitively comes to you from what you've heard, okay? So if it's Sherman, okay, there was a General Sherman, wasn't there? So go along those lines. Yeah. And there's old sayings that, that go along almost with anything, and that's what will usually come up. They will give you hints to that. But there's the basic idea. You're doing it already. You're stepping forward, and you have this trip plan. So this is what it is. It's like a military operation. You're going to go in there and you're going to do certain things, and it's going to be like depth charges to some people. It's going to be a shock, and that's what it is. That's why we're in creation. See, for the most part, we come to the point where we don't want any disruptions. Well, it is really the shocks and whatever that wake us up all of a sudden. It's a life-changing experience, and I've seen it with many people. Sometimes it takes a car wreck. They're just not paying attention. All of a sudden, they get in a car wreck, and all of a sudden, after that, their whole life changes. And I've known people like this, and we all go through it. Some of us voluntarily, some of us got to hit the wall, some of us or whatever, but you're the new recruit, and what do? They, it's like being on the front line in the trenches. You're going out there first to see what you can do and see if you survive, right?
Yeah.
Just so you know, we just got 600 of those the handouts printed out.
Cards made, yeah.
Yeah, 600 cards printed out, and 200 of your awareness tests printed out to hand out to people.
Well, again, see, you're going to make some kind of impression there, so it's going to be interesting until you get caught or you got to run down the street or whatever. But you want to film that too, and we can put it on Facebook. So film all your actions and whatever. You guys can, with your cell phones, film each other as you're doing all these things. It'll be a good little documentary. But again, it's like, I've seen all the years I've done this, I've seen people come and go, and they want to step up. But for the most part, most people go. They don't get into the reality of what is being presented here with the isness. They go through certain steps, they collect the knowledge, and then they go, or something happened personally, which I understand because there's so many variables. So, it's that one soldier, kind of like that old movie with Gary Cooper, Sergeant York. It's that one soldier that gets through because he keeps going and going and going through all the bullets and the bombs and everything else. And really, this is what creation is. I'm constantly being attacked and assaulted and whatever, and I'm just trying to defend myself many times, or I have to go hide and skate around things or whatever. But that's what you are. You're on the front line, and they're giving you the opportunity to wake up yourself. As you wake up others, everything compensates itself. You're going to wake up more. And this is where what people don't realize is that when they just, whatever they do, it all compensates itself. So they take a little of the knowledge, they kind of stay back, and they kind of look at things. Well, you're only going to be where you're at. That's it. But those that step up and get involved, well, then the boys pick you, and they will put you in certain situations. Just like boot camp, the individuals that go to boot camp, they signed up, but you don't see the whole public signing up because they don't want to do it. They want to stay the same. They want their la-la land, so they're just going to be reincarnation. At this very moment, it's no big deal to them. They don't think about it, and most people don't think about old age and passing on, whatever. No, the personal self doesn't want to see that, but what you're doing is you're stepping up now, okay? You're the new recruit. You're stepping up now, and by the very fact, you're going to get beyond all of this eventually as you keep going, you see, and you're going to earn your stripes. So, yeah, that's what I see is that you're being prepared you're showing what's going to happen. You're being prepared to, meet all these people head on that are submerged. Yeah.
Well, the next night I had another dream, and I dreamed I was in Chicago at like a convention center, and it had every big wheel within the Federal Aviation Administration. Every big wheel was at this conference, and they had all these tables set up, and Sandy and I wound up sitting right up toward the stage. It was like a dinner conference, and they had all these big speakers and platforms with tons of microphones so the speakers could speak out, and we were just off to the left side of the stage facing the masses of the people at a table. And then I woke up from that dream. But it was a aviation safety conference. So what do you think that could have been?
Well, I would see it like the seminar in a way. It's interesting. You're off to the left, so that means that the masses come in. They're to the right, which is future. All right, it's demonstrating itself, and so these are the people that you're going to be confronting. And it's interesting that it's in Chicago, isn't it? So, what's the idea of Chicago?
The Windy City.
Okay, that's true. Okay, that's right. There you go. That's an old saying, the Windy City. Also, it's very interesting that, when you look at gangster movies, where are they usually at?
Chicago.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, you have the seminar coming up, and it's a seminar type setting. And it's about aviation. Okay, they're talking about flying around. Well, what is soul travel? It's talking about flying around, right? This is what a lot of people want to do. They just want to fly around. So again, there's some hints there. I'm not saying I'm right, but again, it's a prep. And so you guys are sitting off to the left because you've positioned yourself for the masses. Let's see who comes in. Here's the audience. And they're to the right, so they equal all the possibilities that you're presenting. So it's you take it from there. You see it. It's the Windy City. See, when you got the wind, it can be different things, but lots of times the wind is the mind also. All right, so actually, put it together. You look at the experience from your view. You kind of put it together. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, just one insert here. La Donna Mobile, which is a song from an opera. It means your mind is like the wind. First it blows this way, then it blows that way. English translation.
There you go. There you go. So again, it's the Windy City, and so and it's north. Chicago is north, and it doesn't have to be Minnesota, but it's kind of giving you the hint of you're being prepared for all these things in a particular way. Is all it is. You already know what the temple is and the seminar, whatever. You already know all that. Okay, so now what you're doing is you're getting all these alternate views around the idea, you see. So it's like you're being trained to see all these alternative views so that when you go in there, you're more intuitive instead of just with your own ideas thinking how you've always thought things to be, you see. So it's giving you all these alternatives, and you decide how you're going to see them. So basically, that's what I see. This is what life is doing. It's always demonstrating something to us to where it's not about being self-convinced, but there's something else. And this is where most people, because they're so self-convinced, they just throw it off. They're just like, oh, okay, well, it's just a dream. It doesn't mean anything to me. But as you get into the experience and just have fun with it, and it's not so much the meaning of it, but it's actually the real experience of it, and seeing that you're in another place, you have another view, and just like traveling across the United States, you experience all these things. You've collected all this experience, and you're really collecting viewpoints is what you're doing. It all comes down to viewpoints, even though the mind sees it a particular way. And so, as opposed to compare that to just sitting home and watching TV every day and being self-convinced with your little life. You compare it. Which two do you want? Do you want more viewpoints to eventually get outside of yourself and free yourself, or do you want to stay self-convinced? It's just a view, is what it is. So that's how I see it. Is it's just an alternative to what you're experiencing, but it gives you another kind of viewpoint. You see. But again, there's the masses, etc. And this is what we're doing. We're presenting this to the world. And it's about aviation. Yes, it's about getting above things, etc. That's the idea. And you know, even the corporation is trying to do that, but it's in their own way. But you'll see it. You'll intuitively put it together. Yeah.
Well, just one interesting thing. One last comment about Chicago. The Windy City does not have anything to do with the weather. It's about the politicians being windy.
Well, it is windy.
Well, it is windy in
Been
Chicago,
there.
but the term Windy City comes from the politicians, not from the weather. The very next night, I had another really interesting dream, and I climbed this really high mountain. And at the top of this mountain, I ran into all these neat people and animals living there, and they were just so full of love. The animals were full of, and there were all these different beings there. And just before I woke up, a lot of these people came up to me and gave me a big hug. And I said, "Well, what's this all about?" And he says, "Your arriving here is opening the door so we can be free." And that was my dream.
Well, it's self-explanatory, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, as you do this, okay, it provides opportunities. And just like the experiences you have, you know, it's, the old saying is a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, even more than that, when you're having these experiences, not only seeing them literal, but you're in, you might say, the painting, you're in the movie. And so you decide, you know, when you're in the experience, it's a particular way. It's just giving you the experience. It kind of seems like you're kind of locked into it. But when you come back here, now you have the opportunity to see it in many, many different ways, you see. And so, yes, it's interesting. So you climb this really high mountain, and this is how life works. It's like an MLM. You know, you look at an MLM company, and I'm assuming most people are familiar with it. It's not hard stuff. But again, as new people come in to the company, those people that are at the top that created the company, they prosper even more. You see, this is how life is. And this is what most people don't realize, and that is that those people that step up, that have a real contribution, they actually provide for everything. Those people that come in and just want things for themselves, they really don't. It's a difference. It's an attitude, you see. So again, it's really seeing the whole of life. So yes, by the very fact of with your heart, your intent, whatever, I don't always go to the heart area because most people look at it as emotion. Well, that's part of it too. That's part of your aspiration and your passion, you might say, etc. And that's part of it too. But the real part is your intent. So yeah, it's very real, Bob. And that is that by the very fact that you're waking up and you're doing what you're doing, it magnifies itself. It's very important, and this is what I keep trying to bring across to people, the support reality with the whole of life and the real guides and what's going on here. And it's very important, this aspect, more so than, you know, we went through the membership days where everybody clings to an idea and the master idea. Well, we started off there, but it can't, that doesn't work anymore. I see that it can't work anymore. It's to where everybody steps up, but they have to decide to step up. And if they don't, then they just stay with their personal life. It's a choice. It's a very subtle choice. But you decided to take the risk, climb the mountain, and see these individuals so that they can go on too. We all kind of push each other up, just like an MLM. That's how real it is. This is why the boys take the time to find whoever they can. And just like, you know, as I came in and did this, and they're always looking for others, but most people are afraid. And so as the time went by with this, and eventually like Claudia showed up, and the boys came to her right in her house and said, oh, what about Dwayne? So they wanted her to, Rebazar picked certain people to be with me to see and help support this for a bigger picture that's going to take place. And this is where we're getting into even the galactic stuff, because it's beyond the Earth itself. And I haven't told all this yet, but at the right time it'll come to be. So we'll see what happens. But yes, you're seeing it, young man, by the very fact you're stepping up. Yes, you're helping others on higher levels become more aware themselves. When most people are thinking that, they're thinking heaven and earth for the most part, and this is, you see the systems here. You take a look at the world really realistically, and it's mainly a consciousness of belief and ideas. It's believe in something good or bad, spiritual, and all these things. You see the consciousness, and that consciousness is actually imploding on itself. It's not expanding. People are thinking in their minds because it's a done deal. It's had its day, and even though people are in these paths, they're more so agreeing to what has taken place in creation unconsciously, where they are controlled, than what they're really deciding in these spiritual ideas. These are just ideas is what they are, and they're not working anymore because life isn't supporting these things. It's like kind of a done deal. And so these people on the astral, causal, mental, even the etheric, they're stuck. They're really stuck there. And they are in a higher plateau than we are, you might say, up and down when you go up and down. But they're still stuck because they haven't, even though they can be in these wonderful places and you see them on the real side, but they can still be stuck there. See? And so there's your experience. That's what I see from it. So by the very fact you're stepping up, see, you're bringing the new view. You're bringing the new view to them. That's why they're so happy, because again, and those are the people that are accepting it. Not everybody will. A lot of people, just like yesterday on the Skype with Charles, oh, Dwayne is upsetting the cosmic law. Okay, gee, that sounds really bad, doesn't it? So again, what is the cosmic law? What was before the cosmic law? Okay, and then the cosmic law according to them, all right, these are the people that profess these ideas. Well, that becomes part of the consciousness. Is that really what creation is? No. There's no cosmic laws. There's no laws, but we've used these ideas and they've become literal, and people have become self-restricted, haven't they? So if somebody's upset, really what they are is they're upset with themselves because they can't see past themselves. That's why they're upset. So what do they do in the meantime? They just hang on to the control they've always had. This is why Sandy has had the experiences like it with Harry and Joni, because they want to maintain the control because that's all they know, and they don't have the courage to step up and see what's real. But you do. See, you're going through it, young man. So there's a little view.